over at MSLSD, you had Nicole Wallace, a former Romney McCain Republican operative who's swung hard left, changed her party, and by doing that gets paid a lot of money for having no audience. But she's enormously stupid, as are most of the people there. And she was praising President Biden's speech, that 95% of the people will agree with everything he has said, and they're completely out of it, completely out of it. And Brian Williams, who had to go on sabbatical for 6 weeks because he's a liar and delusional, talking about being in Iraq and being shot at when he wasn't shot at, just tells you he's kind of very Biden-like. He can't fawn enough over Joe Biden, too. It's really incredible. And that speech is like the worst speech any president's given in American history. I take responsibility, but it's Trump's fault. It's the fault of the Afghan people. It's the fault of the 4 presidents. It's a fault. But I take full responsibility. You know, one of those deals. But here's Brian Williams, and he's in exchange with a U.S. Army veteran who also was a CIA operative, Matt Zeller, who is a paid contributor to MSNBC, but was listening to all of this and would have none of it. Go.
Matt Zeller, former first lieutenant during the war in Afghanistan, former combat advisor with Afghan security forces, co-founder of No One Left Behind, a veterans organization that offers services to former Afghan and Iraqi interpreters who resettle here in the United States. Mr. Zeller, it's almost ironic now to state the name of the organization you founded, given what we're watching go on, though I'm curious to hear your reaction of this consequential speech by the American president. Didn't run from it. He owned it. He owned his decision. He owned the fact that, as he put it, the buck stops with him.
I hope he gets to own their deaths, too.
Whoa. Boy, that was a curveball, wasn't it? I hope he owns their deaths, too. Go ahead.
I feel like I watched a different speech than the rest of you guys. I was appalled. There was such a profound, bold-faced lie in that speech. The idea that we planned for every contingency. I have been personally trying to tell this administration since it took office. I've been trying to tell our government for years that this was coming. We sent them plan after plan on how to evacuate these people. Nobody listened to us. They didn't plan for the evacuation of our Afghan wartime allies. They're trying to conduct it now at the 11th hour. The thing that they were most concerned about was the optics of a chaotic evacuation. Well, they got exactly what they were most concerned of by failing to do what was right when we could have done it. We had all the people and equipment in place to be able to save these people months ago, and we did nothing. I'm appalled that he thinks we only need to take 2,000 people. There's 86,000 people who are currently left behind in Afghanistan alone. We've identified all of them for the government. I have no idea why he claims that people don't want to leave Afghanistan. I have a list of 14,000 names right now of people who want to get out of Afghanistan. And the idea that the Afghan military should be blamed for this, do you know how many casualties the Afghan military took in an average year? More than the United States did in 20. When you're not getting paid on a regular basis, when you're not getting fuel, when no one is supplying you with ammunition, and yet you're still showing up to the fight, how dare us for having to blame these people for not having the audacity to be able to survive a Taliban onslaught? No. What we need to be doing right now, and what I am appalled that the president didn't say, was we need to be talking about how we're going to get every single one of these people out. Because let's be abundantly clear. People like me looked these people in the eye and made them a promise. We promised them that in their time of need, we would take care of them. How do you ever expect anyone to ever trust us again if we don't do that now while we can? And I'm sick and tired of trying to defer the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan on what we're going to do. We're the United States of America. They're terrified of us. I have Afghans on the ground right now who are telling me they're going door to door in Kabul and they're making lists of people who used to work with us. They're telling them with smiles on their face, evil smiles, that they're going to be back from them once we leave. So we either take them now or these people are going to die. I've been trying to tell anyone who will listen. This is a never again moment in the making. This is an administration that seems to be a profound champion and defender of human rights. Well, sometimes human rights have to be defended at the barrel end of a gun. The Taliban are a modern version of the Nazis. And if this was Dresden, do you think British, or sorry, not Dresden, if this was Dunkirk, do you think British yachting pilots, the British captains that were sailing their boats heroically into Dunkirk, do you think they were asking on the beaches if the people they were picking up were Brits or French, or do you think they were just trying to get people away from the Nazis? Every Afghan we leave behind is going to be left behind to a horrible existence. And if we don't take them now while we can, that is as much on us as it is on the Taliban, who will hang or behead them.
Wow, that was something Brian Williams didn't expect. In his experience being shot at in Iraq, he never saw anything like that before. This gentleman is 100% right, and I want to add something to what he said. I've been watching some people on TV, people I respect, say, let's just get the Americans out, and that's all we care about right now, period. Well, we do care, and the Americans need to come out. We need to find our fellow citizens and get them out, and I have my own thought on that. It's not going to be pleasant. But the idea, some of them said, that since we can't vet all these Afghans, that we really shouldn't be bringing them back, is simply unacceptable to me. Now, they have lists. This gentleman has his own list. The military has lists. They know who assisted us. Those lists are not just in Afghanistan. Those lists are in Washington at the Pentagon and other places. Those lists should have been drawn up a long, long time ago, people we need to get out of there. And so the idea that we shouldn't have as a priority, number one priority is American citizens, but a priority getting these people out is unacceptable to me, and I'm hearing it all over TV, that we should. Now, first of all, from a perspective of character and morality, when we ask people to help us find Osama bin Laden, help us fight the Taliban, help us keep the Taliban away and so forth, in order to protect our shores from the attack that we already had on 9/11, and then we turn our backs on them, that is not acceptable. That's not what Americans do, ladies and gentlemen. And to hear people, some of whom I like and admire, to say such things is really appalling to me. Absolutely. This isn't the same as people running across the southern border with whom we have no connection, who want to come into the United States, maybe for welfare, maybe they want to get away from crime, maybe they want a better life. That's right. We're talking about people who are going to be killed. Refugees, people who worked with us. This is, if this isn't a refugee, if these aren't refugees, then what the hell is? So this is very important, I think, that we have our moral compass faced in the right direction. It's like the Cubans, that the Cubans shouldn't come here. They're going to be turned around. Why? Because they'll vote Republican. Everyone else can come in, except the Afghans, of course. So I don't side with some of these people who say, no, we shouldn't bring Afghans in, just Americans in. And that's number one. Number two, it's kind of difficult under circumstances like this to be so efficient at separating people out. It's much more difficult. So you have a C-17 ready to go, and you don't even have enough Americans to fill it because they can't get to the airport. What are you going to do? They can hold hundreds of people. You're going to put 12 on and send it off? So that's ridiculous too. But I'm just saying, you can prioritize Americans. I have no problem with that, but you got to get these other people out too, or at least try. And many of the people who fought over there believe that, because they become part of the team. They become part of the effort. And when I'm certain, when you're facing life and death decisions on the battlefield, you become very, very close to people and allies and so forth. So that is simply unacceptable to me. And some people, well, we have enough immigrants. That's not the same thing as people just pouring over the border because they want to come into the United States. It's not the same thing. I just wanted to point that out. And you have these locals who are desperate, obviously, desperate to come here and to get out of what's obviously going to be a horrific genocidal bloodbath. The Taliban are lying about the things they're going to do. They sound like they're small d Democrats, don't they? Oh, yes, women are going to be treated fairly, of course, under Sharia law, and there's going to be equal justice and due process and free speech. There's going to be none of that. Zero. Go. Let me just stop. Is this not horrendous? People know what's ahead if they can't get out. People know what's ahead if they can't get out. It's horrendous. The kind of lives they're going to be subjected to if they get to live at all. And many of them having worked with us. It really, I had to be honest with you. I can't sleep at night thinking about this. It's the truth. I just can't. And as the program goes on, the consequences of this for the United States are just beyond belief. Go ahead. I want you to stop right there. Some of these people hanging on here take off with the airplane. And way, way up, fall off onto the tarmac. And one witness said the sound was unbelievable, the loudness of it. When flesh and bones, when the human being falls from heights like a couple of these human beings did, you turn into jello. Every bone in your body disintegrates. You become a pancake of jello. It is a horrific thing.
Want to see more? Sign up for Levin TV.